I'm sorry, I'm trying not to zone out because I have a lot of anxiety just talking about this. I had to do this growing up, okay, and you didn't like it. Like, one, I would always say this to my mom. If you had a problem with the way that you were raised, why would you, one, leave me with the people who raised you? And two, raise me the same way. Like, you take away from your child being able to be a child. Everybody wants to remind their child that they're a child at the end of the day, but then give them these grown-up responsibilities that take away their childhood. I used to literally get whoopings for disagreeing with my mom on certain things, like, and it could be something she asked me and asks us questions. Her husband at one time was venting to me about how he would come and they would have sex and he's upset because he's not getting the reaction out of her that he feels like he should be getting. They'd be in the middle of fights and just tearing each other's clothes off, and my mom's chasing people with knives and brooms and boiling water and tearing the house up, so much so that I left. That was the first time that I really ran away. That's nobody's fault but your own. If you're not allowing me to share things, don't be upset when I choose not to share things. My mom smacked me in the face with a door. I don't like how some parents act as if they didn't make mistakes growing up. You came out of me, and I felt like if you were doing something stupid or if you were being stupid in that moment, that I had the right to call you stupid. You're my child. Hey sweet face, and welcome back to Allison TV. If you are new here, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. So today is definitely not gonna be the easiest video I have done. This took a lot of nerve and courage and just self-reflecting to be able to do this video, but as you guys know, I'm in Colorado right now, and I have been waiting on like some rainy weather. And even though it's clearing up now, kinda, when I got up this morning, it was raining, which their rain here is more like snow, like it's really thick, and I thought it was like healing, but whatever. My birthday is coming up. I am an earth sign, and I really had been waiting on some rain because it's so calming. And today this morning I just felt vulnerable, so I definitely wanted to share more of my personal life on camera. I wanted to be more vulnerable, and today I just felt today was the best day to do that. Next week I'm going to be talking about or discussing what it's like to kind of grow up without your parents, but today I'm going to be talking about the mother and daughter relationship, and especially in Black households. So I'm going to specifically be talking about the things that happened in my childhood with my mother. And one reason why this video is kind of so hard to do is because now me and my mom have like a really good relationship, and she's really there for me now. So I think that's why it's so hard to do this video. Plus, with me doing my black sheep video, if you haven't seen that, check it out. I know that there's somebody out there who feels the way I feel and probably have been through the same things that I've been through. So that's the purpose of this video. I'm not here to drag, bash, or trash anybody. I'm just speaking on my experience, how it made me feel, and how I'm getting through it, how I got through it. And so I'm not wearing any makeup today. I want this to be a very raw video, so I'm just gonna jump straight into it. I'm gonna start with the belittling. I don't know why. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen in all like households racially, but statistically, and even like when I went to therapy, talking to my therapist, and a lot of therapists will tell you this, it's more common in Black households. I don't know why. Just the mother-daughter dynamic in Black households are very, very toxic. So I also wanted to just put that out there. This isn't dismissing any other race. This is just, look it up. So I'm gonna start with the belittling. You know, when your kids don't know something, really, I feel like as a parent, really try to take your time to teach them and not make them feel stupid for not knowing. And you know, when I went to my therapist and stuff like that, and I was talking to her about it, like, I just feel so stupid all the time, and you know, there's things that I don't know, and instead of somebody really showing me or telling me, like, somebody can tell me, like, there's something, if I don't know the example, if I don't know the definition of a word, and instead of somebody telling me what that means and leaving it at that, like, oh, she didn't know what it is, they would be like, really, your little sister knew that, or you know, this person knows that, or like, really, like make me feel stupid, or be like, that's a shame, or whatever, just insulting you, really. You know, I don't think it's okay to call your kid stupid. And with me personally, with my mother, my mom called me stupid all of the time. And I feel like I wasn't, now me older, now looking back, I feel like I wasn't a dumb kid. I feel like my mom would call me stupid for a lot of things that, I mean, a kid wouldn't know certain things. I remember one time in particular, my mom took us to, we were in the mall, and she was buying herself some stuff, and when we got, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to zone out because I have a lot of anxiety just talking about this, but I know one time in particular, my mom took us to the mall and she was buying herself some stuff. I can't remember exactly what it was, but when we got back home, her husband at the time had asked me, like, what did y'all do today? And I was like, oh, well, we went to the mall, and this is, like, I was just literally telling them what we did that day, and they ended up getting into this huge argument. My mom smacked me in the face with a door and called me stupid because I guess I wasn't supposed to tell them. So it would be stuff like that I would get called. It's just little stuff all the time. If I sabotaged something for her, if there was something she was expecting me to know that I didn't know, or just any little thing. If I made a mistake, she called me stupid for it. When you make your kid feel bad about who they are, or make them constantly feel like they're a mistake, or they're constantly making mistakes, and like, especially if you're belittling this child more than you're uplifting this child. Like, I've heard I'm stupid more in my lifetime than I've heard that I'm smart, or that, like, somebody being proud of me for something. But what you do when you do that is your child constantly tries to prove to you that they are smart. They're constantly looking for validation. When you make somebody feel like they're stupid, they're constantly questioning the decisions that they make, because they feel like they're stupid and they make dumb decisions. So when you have a child that, like, it's tearing down their confidence. And as a child, I was not confident whatsoever. I definitely seek a lot of validation from people. Very much a people pleaser. So because my mom didn't take the time to teach me certain things, like even just simple things about me just being a female, there's things that your mother has to teach you, you know, when you're a girl, about certain things, and I just wasn't taught. So it really damaged my social skills, because once I moved in with my dad and his side of the family, I was very behind on a lot of things. And there's a lot of times where I felt like people thought I was stupid because I didn't know certain things. But something you just have to realize is when you do stuff like that, it makes kids scared to, like, I was definitely the kid that was scared to raise their hands in class or ask for help about certain things or ask certain questions, because I didn't want anybody to think I was stupid. I've always figured things out on my own. It makes it hard for that person to ask for help, because they don't want to seem stupid. They don't want to seem weak, if that makes sense. And I don't like how some parents act as if they didn't make mistakes growing up, or try to portray as if they were a certain type of child growing up, and I just didn't do stupid crap like this growing up and all that stuff. I hate when your parents are so unrelatable and they make you feel like you're literally just, they don't understand the stuff that you do. Like, because a lot of times our parents made worse decisions than we did. But so that even being older, and as you get to know your parents more, and as you get to know the decisions they made when they were younger, and just revealing a lot of things, it makes you even more mad, because it's like, you did this as a kid, you did that as a kid, and you have the nerve to sit up and make me feel like crap because of some of the stuff that I was doing. Like, growing up, I felt like, I made the grades. I wasn't out drinking and partying. I wasn't having sex with everybody. I didn't get pregnant in high school. And I felt like all of that was just overshadowed just because of the simple mistakes. I feel like even the mistakes that I made growing up were normal teenage mistakes. But, I don't know. And this video, like, I'm trying to keep this video about my mom, because this video is about the mom and daughter relationship. But even with my dad, like, my dad belittled me a lot, but that's gonna be in next week's video. So, but my main thing is, you don't want to make your kid doubt every decision they make. You create an indecisive child, first of all, and you don't want to make them doubt every decision they make, but then put so much responsibility on their back, such as giving them the role as the third parent. I felt like really stupid for a lot of decisions I made and everything, but at the same time, I had to be the third parent for my siblings growing up. Like, I was left alone with them a lot. I was literally the third parent. Your parents want you to be this role model for your siblings, and you set the example and this and that, and they put so much responsibility on you, like constantly having to babysit your younger siblings. And there's nothing wrong, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong when the oldest has to look after the youngest, when your parents want to run and do things. But it makes it hard when you want to leave your children with someone that you don't want also disciplining your children. Because growing up, your siblings have no respect for you. Like, they just don't. Especially if they're younger, they don't have any respect for you. So you're leaving me here with my siblings that you want me to look after and do this for and do that for, and that I basically have to help you take care of. But in the same breath, you don't teach them to have a certain respect for me, and you don't want me disciplining them when they do something wrong. And instead, I used to get in trouble. My mom used to whoop me and stuff if, like, say for instance, my brother or sister did something to me or hit me or anything like that, and I responded back and hit them, or I told them that they couldn't do so. Even if I didn't put my hands on them, if I just told them they couldn't do something, she'd come at me, these are my kids, you don't put your hands on my kids, you don't tell my kids anything, da da da, like. And it's just like, okay, well, can you please stop leaving your kids with me? Stop expecting me to do certain things for your kids and do it for yourself, since these are your kids. Like, I cannot stand that. Like, people who want to leave their kids on any and everybody, but then has a problem when someone disciplines their kid when they're not disciplining their kid themselves. So I was the oldest, and I was definitely punished more. My mom was definitely the hardest on me. My sister growing up, my mom and my sister were like best friends. Like, my mom and my sister honestly, it didn't even seem like a daughter-mother relationship. It was a best friend relationship. So, and then my brother was the only boy, and my mom always wanted a boy, and he was the youngest. So you could just about, like, you get the picture of how that relationship was. Like, my brother was spoiled by everybody in the family just because he was the boy. So, but yeah, I say all that just to say, don't leave your kids with so much responsibility and so much pressure on their shoulders, and at the same time constantly make them question their ability to be able to make decisions. And just for me, this really damaged my social skills, because I was scared to talk to people. I felt like people thought, especially when I moved in with my dad and I realized just how far behind I was, so many things that I wasn't taught that I should have obviously knew. My cousins that were younger than me were way more advanced in certain areas, to the point to where it made me realize, dang, I might be really stupid. And so, but it took time. Like, once I went to therapy, my therapist was like, well, why would you feel stupid? Because they're calling you stupid, but no one has taken the time to teach you this. She was like, if anything, they're stupid for calling you stupid and knowing that you don't know certain things and that you haven't been taught it. That just really made me feel bad. And I finally had a conversation with my mom, I think last year or earlier this year, I can't remember, but we were having a conversation, and she was like, I told her, you know, how it affected me, her calling me stupid all the time. And she basically told me that you came out of me, and I felt like if you were doing something stupid, or if you were being stupid in that moment, that I had the right to call you stupid. You're my child. So she really didn't understand that that was verbal abuse. And it took for her, the only reason I think we had that conversation is because we were in the middle of an argument and she did something. She came to my house and she got mad because when she pulled up to the house, I told her, text me when you're outside, I'll come outside. But my whole point in telling her that was for me to greet her outside and bring her inside the house. But she felt like, she made this whole deal like, well, if any of your friends was here, you know, you wouldn't text them that you'd just let them come up to your door. You don't want me coming in your house and stuff like that. She made it this whole deal. Mind you, my mom was practically blind. She had to have surgery on her eyes, a major surgery on her eyes, because she cannot see. So at the time, she could not even see. She had difficulty getting there. And she even said, like, because she ended up leaving and not coming in my house because, but she was like, when she pulled up, there was just bushes and she didn't even know where to go to even come to the inside of the house. But she constantly made it a big deal and made it a problem that I texted her and told her to let me know when she was outside. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. That's stupid. And one thing you don't do is call my mama stupid or insinuate that she's stupid. She took so much offense to that. And I'm just like, the irony, like, you don't understand how it hurt me or how I don't like being called stupid, but you legit did something that was stupid and you have a problem with someone calling you stupid who you have. I told her, you have called me stupid my entire life, and now it's an issue that me as an adult and you choosing to pick an argument with me over something that I think is stupid, and I say that, you know, that's stupid, you have an issue with that. Like, so then that's when she told me, you know, you were my child, you came out of me. If I felt like you were being stupid, you were being stupid, and I felt like I had the right to tell you that. Anyways, moving on to the next point. Stop comparing your kids to other children. Now, I didn't really have this problem with my mom because we never hardly went anywhere. My mom was definitely a go out type of person, like type of mom. So we weren't ever hardly around other people and their kids. It was just me, my brother, and my sister. So there was really no other kids. We didn't have close cousins or anything like that were around. So we couldn't really, there was nobody to compare us to. You know, my mom didn't have friends that had kids that she was just close to or nothing like that. I mainly experienced this when I was living with my dad, and I spoke about this in my Black Sheep video, of like just people making the comment that my cousin was more mature than me. I don't know, like those things really bothered me growing up because I felt like there was just certain things that I could not help. Like, I had a more goofy personality than my cousin did, and so it would cause people to be like, oh, she's way more mature, she's so mature for her age, she was way more mature than Allison, and da 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 da. I don't know, I definitely felt like growing up that people loved her more than they loved me, and that didn't feel good. Like, but the main thing that I just want to say is that when you do this to your kids, you are teaching them jealousy tendencies. You are teaching them to be very competitive. You are, you know, social media is hard for the normal adult who is confident in themselves and love themselves. Like, but when you scroll on social media, it's really, you are constantly comparing yourself. And for the people who have those jealous tendencies in them because they've grown up constantly being compared to somebody or constantly being criticized, it causes them to do that internally because they're not confident in themselves. Like, they feel the need to try to be someone else, which is masking. And they, like, just like I said with the belittling thing and trying to seek validation through your parent constantly and trying to make them proud and stuff like that, and when you're constantly failing, it just over time, it just it wears you down. And some people just need to understand, just like I had to understand growing up. Me and my cousin, we had different households, different household environments, a completely different life. And there was no reason ever for me to be jealous of her. I can understand why I was jealous of her. She had a life that I wish I had, you know, but that's not her fault, you know, and I've never let that affect me and her's relationship. I've never, you know, just have been mean to her or shut her out or not wanted to be close to her because of our different lifestyles. But I'm not gonna lie, especially when you're a child and you're having to do things for yourself and you're having to, like, I had no choice but to get a job as soon as I was old enough to get a job because I had to pay for things by myself, for myself. Like, I had to do, like, if I didn't do it, I didn't have a parent that would give me gas money. I didn't have a parent that could pick up the slack and help me. I didn't have a support system. And so when you grow up with somebody who has that option, it can make you jealous, because I don't care what nobody says, when you're working, anybody who knows what it's like to work, especially while going to school, it is hard. Like, and it will make you just, when you see that it can be easier on somebody else, or that when you see somebody else who has that support system that you want, especially when you have this void in you that your parents should be feeling and they're not, and you see that love being poured into another child that's around your age and just see all the support they have, I'm sorry, it bothers you. It bothered me for a very long time. It bothered me. But like I said, this is a video about me and my mom. So my next point that I want to talk about is giving your children a financial burden. And this happens a lot in Black households. You know, a lot of people kick their kids out at 18 or make them start paying bills, or make them get a job, like once they're able to get a job, to help pay bills in the house. And, you know, I don't agree with that. One thing I feel like a lot of older people don't realize is that the cost of living is not the same. Like, it's not. I mean, it's dramatically noticeable now because of everything we're going through. But even before all of this happened, like, the cost of living is not the same of how it was back in the day. And you take away from your child being able to be a child. Everybody wants to remind their child that they're a child at the end of the day, but then give them these grown-up responsibilities that take away their childhood and take away things that they're able to enjoy. And my thing is, you know, if you have a parent who's, oh, well, I had to do this growing up, okay, and you didn't like it, like, so why would you make me do that? You knew how damaging it was to your childhood. You know how damaging it was and how it made you feel. So why, if you have a problem with the way that you are raised, why would you want, I would always say this to my mom, If you had a problem with the way that you were raised, why would you, one, leave me with the people who raised you, and two, raise me the same way? Like, it doesn't make sense. And parents will do this instead of just teaching their kids how to save, teaching their kids how to budget, or going and making their kid open up a bank account. Like, I feel like those things, if you're really wanting to teach your kid responsibility, is not making them pay one of your bills. Like, if you have kids and you're not in a position where you can properly take care of them or properly take bills, that is your kids don't owe you anything. They don't owe you just because they're in your house. They don't owe you just because they're your child. You set up and had them, so you then had to make a plan to be able to care for these kids. And I don't care what nobody say. No, I don't have kids. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care your situation. Like, at the end of the day, being able to take care of the kids that you brought into this world is solely your responsibility. But I 100% think that teaching your kids to save, teaching your kids to budget, even if it's just not allowing them to have access to all their money because they've proven to you that they can't save, they can't budget, they blow their money, and you want to be stricter on them to kind of teach them, is one thing, and I can understand that. But teaching your kid the value of $1, teaching your kid how to stretch $1, teaching your kid like what it's gonna be like when they graduate high school and go to college and they gotta save all this money. But the number one type of parent that gets me is the parent that flexes and act like they got it and money's not a thing, and they try to go after these lavish like lifestyles, but then get upset when their children want certain things or ask for certain things and don't understand why they can't have them when you're walking around flossing and acting like you got it, because then you got an ungrateful child. You're trying to make that child seem like they're ungrateful and stuff like that, but then you're portraying this I got it lifestyle. Like, it don't make sense, because a child at the end of the day isn't going to understand the value of $1 until they have to start spending their own money, until they're being taught about it, until they have to do certain things. Because that's when I understood it. That's when I understood why sometimes if I ask somebody for something, they didn't give it to me. You know, if I ask somebody who's got a job for 20 bucks and they're like, I'm sorry, I ain't got it, I used to feel like, okay, well, you just don't want to give me the money, because at the end of the day, you got a job. I know you got at least $20 that you could give me. And mind you, this was back in the day when I was a kid. So, like, I really felt some type of way. I feel like you don't want to give it to me. But after I got a job and I understood, like, okay, even if somebody has $20, that don't mean they can afford to just give it to you. Like,
I'm sorry, but I had to stop here because this actually reminds me of a particular time that my mom reached out to me because she wanted me to go on this trip with her and my sister. She had apparently got this lavish hotel room at this lavish hotel because she's like that, and she loves lavish things. She loves to live beyond her means, and she was like, everything's paid for. All you gotta do is show up. I just want to spend time with you. And I always tell my mom no because we cannot get along. So this time I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go. She always asks me to go places with her, and I never do, so why not? Everything's paid for. I don't have to do anything. She calls me every single day and asks me to pay for something, which I felt like she was doing to get under my skin, because this is how my mom picks fights. So every time she asked me to pay for something, it was some stuff like dinner reservations or room service, just different little things she would ask me. And I tell her, yeah, it wasn't that much, so whatever. She calls me out of the blue and asks me for my card information. Mind you, I told you my mom is not good with money and she's a gambler. So I'm like, what do you need my card information for? And she's like, well, I need $800 for something for the room. Excuse me? And you weren't going to tell me that this is how much money you needed? You just expected me to give you my card information and for you to charge something like this to my card. This is why I say my mom does things to try to get under my skin and to pick arguments with me, because she does irrational stuff like this. Of course, she got upset. Her favorite thing to call me, if it's not trash and all the other stuff she calls me, is broke. So she was calling me broke and telling me that I should be able to have it since I have a job and I'm spending my money on irresponsible things, because I don't just have $800 to give her outside of whatever money that I was going to take on a trip to spend on myself, or whatever I was going to spend to prepare for the trip. So this is just to give you a little bit more insight on how it has been throughout the years. Because mind you, I told you I had not seen my mom in years, and it would go from us not talking, communicating, or anything throughout the years to her randomly calling me and asking me to do things like this and picking fights with me. She also lied to my sister and told my sister that I was asking her for money, and I had to put them on three-way and mute my sister for my sister to even understand what was going on, because my mom gave her a completely different story. So yeah.
But I think how this affected my childhood the most is my mom had a smoking habit, and anytime we got money from anywhere, from anybody, for anything, she felt like, you know, I put a roof over your head and stuff. She asked you for some money, she know you got some money, you don't want to give it to her. She does so much for you and pays for so much for you, and you can't give her no, like, because we know when our parents ask for our money, they don't give it back. Most of us, some of us got good parents that you could ask them later on, like, hey, you know that $5 you owe me, like, I want this, and they'll get it for you. But my mom was not that type of mom. Like, she would ask you for it, and you just gave it to her. And our mom would take our money and buy things like cigarettes, or candy, and it sucked. Like, it really sucked. So the next thing that I kind of want to move on to is invalidating your child's feelings and creating unnecessary fear, because a lot of Black parents do this, especially Black mothers will get mad at you because you don't agree with them, or you will get in trouble. Like, I used to literally get whoopings for disagreeing with my mom on certain things, like, and it could be something she asked me. I remember one time my mom would always ask me, she knew I wanted to live with my dad, and that bothered her. So I remember this one time in particular, she asked me, do you want to go live with your dad? And I don't know at the time if my dad was trying to take her to court or anything, but she asked me if I wanted to go live with my dad, and I told her, I don't want to talk about this. Like, you want me to basically tell you what you want to hear, because I knew if I told her, yes, I want to go live with my dad, and she knew this, like, it was just going to be an argument, and I wanted to avoid that. I didn't want to deal with that. And she's like, I'm not gonna be mad, I don't care, I just want to know. Like, she made it seem like she just wants to have this conversation. And so I'm like, yeah, I want to go live with my dad. And it blew up. She started hitting me and cursing me out and calling me names, so much so that I left. That was the first time that I really ran away. And I remember walking down the street. I walked all the way to the police station, and I was hoping when I got there that they just called my dad and my dad come pick me up and we can figure things out from there. So, and she pulled up on me like maybe 2 or 3 times while I was walking. And I remember, I think the second time or the third time that she pulled up on me, it's like she pulled the car up. She was coming to the stop sign, and I'm walking down the street, and I saw her pull up, and I kept walking, and she was like, so you're not gonna get in the car? And I'm like, no, like, I'm tired of this. At this point, you're antagonizing me because you know how I feel, but you want to argue. And my mom is like that. She wants to argue. She will pick fights with me like that. And there's a piece of me that felt like I should have just told her what she wanted to hear, because I know my mom internalizes stuff like that and feels like when you say stuff like that, you don't love her. But the household that we grew up in was just so toxic, like, and she would just always ask me questions and get mad at the answer. And first of all, you shouldn't be involving your child in certain types of business. But she would get in arguments with whoever she was dating at the time, and they would always involve us and ask us questions. Her husband at one time was venting to me about how he would come and they would have sex, and he's upset because he's not getting the reaction out of her that he feels like he should be getting. they'd be in the middle of fights and just tearing each other's clothes off, and my mom's chasing people with knives and brooms and boiling water and tearing the house up, putting holes in the walls, bleeding, and just so much stuff. And then to involve us and then get upset with our response. Anyways, I got to the police station and they basically took me back home and told my mom that she was wrong. And the police that ended up taking me back home was actually a pastor. And he ended up talking to us, and my mom did this whole cry thing and said she was sorry and all this stuff. And I was so disappointed that night. But another issue with this is not allowing your child to have their own mindset. You make them weak-willed when you don't allow them to have their own mindset and make their own choices, and to constantly depend on you to make their decisions. Like, a child shouldn't have to always depend on you, especially as they're getting older, because that's what it's going to create when they're not going to be able to do anything, and because they need their mom or their dad. Especially when you have a child who knows what they want to do and know what they want, but you don't want that, and you want to make them think that you know what's best, and that I wanted to be a lawyer, but my mom told me that I was going to be a nurse because she's a nurse and that's what she wants to do, and she's not going to pay for anything else for me to do. She's not paying for my education if I'm not going to be a nurse, and I'm not going to be able to do this if I don't do this, and I'm not going to be able to do that if I don't do that. Like, it was always that. Even with my sister and stuff, like, always wanting to tell my sister what she was gonna be and what she was gonna do, and my sister didn't like that. Like, it even got to the point to where when I was an adult and I finally graduated, like, well, a young adult, and I finally graduated and stuff, my mom, she wouldn't ask me anything. She'd send me links to schools in the state that she was living in, and expected me to drop everything that we went all these years with no communication in this horrible relationship. Me and my mom couldn't talk to each other. We could never hold a conversation. We're always at each other's throats. We're always fighting. And she would just out of the blue send me stuff like links and stuff to these colleges, and then be like, when we finally do talk, I might not respond or anything. So when we finally do talk on the phone, it's just like, so when are you going to apply? Or when are you, like, I have not lived with you for years and we don't talk like that. We go years on and off without talking. We have no type of relationship, and you just expect me to drop everything that I'm doing for you to do what you want me to do, and that's not, it's not gonna happen. But like I said, just doing that creates an indecisive person. They feel like they can't make their own decisions. And when you have a child who's very like, I know what I wanted, I knew what I wanted to do and stuff like that, so when you're constantly trying to back them into a corner, at some point they're gonna explode. That's basically what happened with me and my mom. I feel like if a child tells you that something's hurting them or that they don't like something, you need to stop. Like, I hate people who come up with these excuses that's like, well, that's just how I am, and that's just how I talk, and that's just how I'm this, and that's just how I'm that. But if I'm telling you that it hurts me and that I don't like it, like, why do you need to do it that bad? Why do you need to be able to do this to me that bad if I'm telling you that it hurts me? If I'm telling you that it bothers me, like, why do I have to then, why are you gaslighting me and making me feel like, oh, well, I see now I just can't make those type of jokes with you, or I can't do this, or I can't do that because you're this type of person, you're too sensitive. Like, I don't need the gaslighting. I just need the boundaries to be respected. And for a very long time, honestly, my entire life until now, my mom has not respected my boundaries. But just stop assuming that you know your child's intentions with certain things. I know parents know their children better than anything, but if a child is telling you something and they're being serious, like, there's so many times I've said something where I wasn't believed because people just thought I was a liar, or people just like invalidated my feelings, and I'm like, so now I don't want to share things with you, and that's nobody's fault but your own. If you're not allowing me to share things, don't be upset when I choose not to share things. don't then make it my fault later on in life for not sharing things with you when you didn't create a safe place for me to share things with you. If you didn't create that relationship with me to share things with you. So, and that's like, I just have to tell my mom that, like, you're not somebody I could just come have a conversation with. This is a woman that come home from work and stuff, and she sit on her computer and play her games and stuff like that, and she get mad if she just heard mama or heard you call her name for anything. Like, she didn't want us talking to her. She'd blow up at us. She just wanted peace and quiet because she's had a long day, and it just made it very hard. You never knew which side of her you were gonna get when you went to her about certain things. And so I just didn't go to her about anything from the time that I was like 11 years old. Like, she always accused me of having sex because I was gaining weight. I am a growing child. She would accuse me of having sex because of the way I ate. She'd accuse me of being pregnant. Instead of her coming to me and having a conversation with me about sex or things that she had concerns with, she'd send her husband to talk to me about this stuff. And what I don't like is for a parent to be like, what goes on in this household stays in this household. They don't want their business told. They don't want you to tell their mistakes or things that happen to them. But as soon as you do something that they don't like, or something that is really something you should not be sharing, or at least if you are sharing it with other family members, those family members don't have a right to confront your child about this issue. And you don't have a right to talk about this out loud. Like, this isn't a table discussion, especially when you're having these conversations in front of that child. How now you've altered the relationship between the child and the family member that you're gossiping to. How a lot of black parents make you feel like you owe them something because they are your parents. Your child is not a slave. I can't tell you how many times I've heard a child is to be seen, not heard. You have children so that they can be your slave and do all the things that you... I've literally been told you have children so that they can be your slave. My mom wanted me to be one of those girls that had boyfriends in school or had crushes in school. And you know, when I had my phone, my mom would always call me gay because I never text any boys, or I never had any boyfriends. So my mom would always call me gay and kind of taunt me and be like, I guess I'm gonna have to depend on your sister and your brother for grandkids, because you're never gonna give me any because you're gay. And so much so that I actually thought I was gay.